So there are a large amount of people in the world today creating music to share their art with the world. Among these people exist groups and individuals who are signed to a major label and therefore are no longer independent or working for themselves. As a very big fan and consumer of music of all types, I really like discovering new and creative listening experiences. But it seems that these experiences come from much smaller or lesser known artists. Artists who are their own boss and free to do whatever they want with their creations. This is what got me interested in looking deeper into this subject and asking myself how important is freedom when it comes to artistic creativity. Some people may argue that an artist signed to a major label would be allowed the most artistic freedom. This is due to signed artists having access to a fully furnished studio with tons of options available to them to help them get the perfect sound they wish to achieve, whereas a smaller artist may have to work with whatever they can get their hands on. Major artists also have the freedom to get almost anybody they want to help write, produce, or even feature on a song, since the label itself has connections and will want to back their artists. Pretty much, a signed artist has the resources to create any project they want on a grand scale. If they can think of it, almost anything is possible for them. But while this may make it seem that signing to a major label is the right choice for artistic freedom, since the resources available to an artist will allow them to create their best work, there are many factors that can really limit an artist who is signed as well, and these limitations actually affect artistic creativity negatively more than an unsigned artist. The biggest limiting factor is you will be influenced by corporate demands. This includes forcing a deadline for your project, telling you who you can and can't work with, or even deciding how they want your song to sound. Forcing a deadline limits the artist, forces them to come up with what they can in a set amount of time. Controlling who you can or cannot work with is even more limiting in some ways. For example, if an artist is hot a certain month, then a label may make you work with them in an attempt to raise your sales and virality, even if the artist had not originally envisioned them being a part of their creation. The same works the other way around. If an artist really wants a particular person to assist them in a project, but that person has some bad press, the label is not going to allow it. All of these could really limit an artist and their art. If they are being rushed or forced to work with people or sounds they are not interested in working with, then they will not truly be able to craft that initial vision they had for their project. An independent artist, however, is their own boss. They have complete control of what goes into their art and how it will come out. They do not answer to any higher-ups or need to follow a strict agenda. They can control who they work with, when they work, and what they work on. While this may come at the expense of not having those resources available to them, I think that being able to make what you want when you want allows for much more freedom and in turn a more creative listening experience. Lil Uzi Vert, a well-known signed artist, has a deal with Atlantic Records and has a history of struggles with his label. In Uzi's case, Atlantic heavily controlled his release schedule to the point where Uzi has claimed to be retiring from music altogether due to his label being so controlling. A famous independent artist, Chance the Rapper, has no similar struggles as he doesn't need to answer to higher-ups. With nobody controlling his art, he has unlimited opportunities and creativity. For example, he dropped a quick mixtape with Lil B and released Surf as part of Donnie Trumpet and the Social Experiment for free on iTunes. If he was signed to a major label, they may not have allowed him to collaborate with any other artists or drop any music if they decided it was not the right move. Ultimately, the independent artist knows what they want to create and can take the steps they need in order to ensure this vision gets brought to life. While the major artist has to answer to people who only see their art as an investment or a product and will force an artist to do whatever they would think will help them make more money off this product. Adam Young, better known as Owl City, is a good artist to study for this enduring question. After viral success with Young's Owl City project, Young signed a deal with Universal Republic, and right away he was faced some problems regarding the future of his project and his art. This quote by Young's manager perfectly exemplifies the way major labels view artists and their work. They want to change what made his art unique and how it sounded. While this is not what ended up happening, it does show that labels will try to control their artists in turn, limiting the potential creativity an artist could put into a project. Over the years, while Young may have kept some of his freedom, he definitely still needed to work within his label's own agenda until 2015 when he started a new project on his own. This new project would see Young going by his own name rather than his Owl City persona, where he would compose music inspired by great and interesting moments in history. The score was meant to capture these moments, and we would put a new score out each month for a year. He had stated he wished to do this for a very long time, and by doing it independently, he could finally tackle this project. Over the course of this project, Young created a music score for numerous interesting historical moments, such as the Apollo 11 launch, the sinking of the Titanic, and even a score dedicated to the first person to ascend Mount Everest. This was an extremely interesting and totally unique project Young tackled, and the whole time he had whole artistic freedom in what subjects he wrote about and what type of styles and instruments went into each song. This really allowed Young to capture the spirits of these moments in his music, and you would not find a major label supporting this type of project as it is not radio friendly. Another problem that can arise when working with a major label is sometimes the people you originally made a deal with may or may not be around forever. What I mean is labels are associated with the business side of music rather than the art. So like any other business, people may be hired, fired, or companies may be outright bought by somebody else. For example, an artist could be signed on by a chairman who was then shortly sacked afterwards, which could lead to an artist going through numerous marketing teams and A&Rs, until eventually the people who are helping you at the label are not the same people who signed you on in the first place. This can lead to a label going cold on an artist or not supporting them as they initially did, and can lead to an artist being held hostage, with an artist wishing to further their career in art and release their projects to the world, but the label does not allow them to. Amanda Palmer, lead vocalist of the Dresden Dolls, is one artist of many whose labels went cold on them, leaving them trapped until they were released from their contracts. Palmer stated that her label stopped helping her band after their second album was released, and since then she needed their contract to end as they interfered with how she wished to give away her music. Palmer also mentions a friend of hers who is also a major signed artist who had to experience the label changing their chairman and marketing teams numerous times, and due to this disarray, their first single was delayed 2 years after their initial signing. The single did not chart, so in response, the label did not release the album and did not allow the artist to release any more music. It would not be until a year later, when they were released from their contract, that the artist could finally release their work. Now, there should be no further argument for signed artists not being as free to be as creative as they want. Signed artists must get along with their label by abiding by their rules and checklists, which, despite the resources and connections, the lack of freedom to do as you want is going to affect your ability to truly be creative and release the project you really want to. With nobody to answer to but themselves, and arguably with nothing to lose, independent artists can create whatever they want with whoever they want and release it whenever they want, however they want to. They could release an album with various horse noises and not have to worry about it not performing well and getting shut down by your label, leaving them trapped in a contract. With a label, you and your art are just products to them, and with that thinking, your art can become just that, a product to be sold and make money. An independent artist is not always interested in money or success, but instead focused on creating what they want the way they want to in order to create a true creative experience for others.